Word on Health, the report with its finger on the pulse of popular medicine, with Paul Pennington. Word on Health, for your very best of health.
High blood pressure is largely symptomless and the single biggest preventable cause of death in the UK. The more that people are aware of their blood pressure, the better the chances are something can be done about it if something is wrong. Yet, according to the outcome of a new poll released as part of the Know Your Numbers campaign, nearly 1 in 10 of the UK population has never had their blood pressure checked. Dr. Pauline Swift is chair of Blood Pressure UK.
We think that there's just under 4 million adults living in the UK, age 18 to 64, could be living with undiagnosed high blood pressures, and that would increase their chances of having a stroke, heart attack, kidney disease, or unnecessary premature death.
Pharmacies across the UK are offering free blood pressure checks for those that aren't aware of their blood pressure levels, and they can advise on whether you're in the normal range and refer you on if there's something that needs to be addressed.
If your blood pressure is high, don't ignore it. Don't leave it another year till you have it checked again. Please take some steps to address getting your blood pressure back down into the target or the normal range.
According to your poll, despite 90% of the population knowing that salt intake affects blood pressure, 20% of those surveyed consume nearly double the NHS's daily recommended amount of 6 grams of salt, and 42% of us have never made any changes to our diet to reduce our salt intake.
This is a message that is a constant banging of the drum we have to do. We think that there's different levels at which there needs to be awareness. There needs to be awareness, I think, starting from school age, educating children and young adolescents to cut down on their salt intake. For example, we know that 3/4 of the caloric intake of adolescents comes from ultra-processed foods, and they are extremely high in salt intake. We need to then educate the public to pick lower salt foods and to be aware of the salt contents of some really common foods. For example, bread, cheese, processed meats such as bacon and sausages. If I'm talking to people living with high blood pressure, I always say it's like an addiction. It's a habit. You become very accustomed to a high salt taste and you think that's nice. It's not nice. It's just salty, and you've got used to that taste. And also it makes us quite resistant to some of the tablets that we take to manage our high blood pressure. So there's all sorts of aspects of cutting salt down that will be beneficial.
Maintaining a healthy weight and being physically active are recommended as measures that we should take. What would you recommend is a good blood pressure friendly diet?
There is one specific diet called the DASH diet, which is the Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension diet, which is really a Mediterranean-based diet that you don't add any salt to it. So it's high fruit and vegetables, grains, low dairy. It's a lack of processing in your foods. And if you can avoid as much as possible the ultra-processed foods, then you'll be doing much better.
And if we are found to have high blood pressure, whatever measures or medications we're prescribed with, it's vital we stick to that regime, isn't it?
Oh my goodness, yes. If you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure and you've got it down so far with reducing your salt, increasing your fruit and vegetables, a lot of people are going to require medications to bring it down into the target range. And it's vitally important that once you've got it well controlled on medication, that you stay on medication, because that way your blood vessels then become accustomed to having a normal range blood pressure. And if you stop and start them, then you're exposing your blood vessels, which supply your brain and your heart and your kidneys to really high pressures that they're then not used to. So I would say absolutely vitally important to stay on them. Don't run out of your medications. Make sure that you have a process with your GP or pharmacy to get your next lot of medications in good time.
My grateful thanks to Dr. Pauline Swift. To find out more and to connect through to Blood Pressure UK, visit our website, wordonhealth.com. That's wordonhealth.com.
Word on Health, for your very best of health.
To deliver far greater awareness across the UK of head and neck cancer, Oracle Cancer Trust and the Head and Neck Cancer Foundation have merged so that the scale of the head and neck cancer problem in the UK can have a bigger voice. Every day across the UK, 31 people are told they're living with a form of head and neck cancer, and the prevalence is increasing. Michelle Vickers is the Chief Awareness Officer of the newly formed Oracle Head and Neck Cancer UK, with a remit on building public awareness.
I think most people think of things like brain tumours and things like that. It's not that. Cancers that are known collectively as head and neck cancers usually begin inside the mouth, the throat and voice box, but they can also be in your salivary glands, your sinuses or muscles and nerves in the head and neck, but those are sort of less common. Anybody can have this disease. Young people get this disease. Children get it too.
Michelle, is there a gender bias in the prevalence of head and neck cancers?
These type of cancers are twice as common amongst men as they are among women. That has been linked in the past to smoking and alcohol, which is why we're seeing an increase now in women having these type of cancers. Also with men, we find that they are later to be diagnosed, so the prognosis can be not as great for them as it can be for women, because women tend to go to the doctor more quickly, whereas men commonly delay going to the doctor. Also, we are seeing that more people are often diagnosed over the age of 50.
What are the telltale signs that we should be looking out for?
In general, mouth ulcers that don't heal within 3 weeks. And quite often people will go to their doctor and say, I've got this mouth ulcer, and the doctor may give them something. If within 3 weeks that hasn't healed, you need to go back and get something done about it. Any red and white patches inside your mouth that you haven't seen there before, and any unusual lumps, swellings in your mouth or on your tongue, or any odd sensations, any loss of feel, a loss of a sensation, or anything that feels slightly different in your mouth, best always go to your GP and say what you're concerned about and let them follow up on it.
As with many forms of cancer, early diagnosis is key. I understand we have in recent times seen developments in terms of technology and treatments.
It's still a bit of a postcode lottery, so you need to do your research. Go onto our website. There's lots of information there about new technology. You can join a support group and find out from other people what their experience is with that technology and that new treatment.
What advice would you give to someone listening to this report who may be living with cancer and going through treatment so that they can optimise their health and recovery?
That is such a good question, because quite often, and this is no disrespect to the medical community, they're looking for medical treatment and that's that. But you need to take ownership of how you're going to see yourself through this journey. You need to manage your stress, look at some relaxation techniques and choose something that's suitable for you. Try and get some sleep. I know that's difficult, but you need to sleep while you're going through the treatment. You need to be the best you can be while you're going through your treatment and your diagnosis. Exercise regularly, eat well, speak to your dietitian. And then, this is the most important bit to me, you need to accept practical and emotional support. So ask for help or seek out a listening ear, join a support group and share your experiences. And the other thing to that I'd say is avoid environmental toxins. And by that I mean not just physical toxins like cigarette smoke and stuff like that, but I mean surround yourself by positivity and look after your mental health as well as your physical health.
My grateful thanks to Michelle Vickers. To find out more and to connect through to the Oracle Head and Neck Cancer UK, log on to our website, wordonhealth.com. That's wordonhealth.com.
Word on Health, your personal prescription for your very best of health.
Ticks are spider-like blood-sucking parasites with a body no bigger than an apple seed. They're second only to mosquitoes when it comes to transmitting diseases to humans. It's not always easy to know if a tick has buried itself in you, as they can secrete an anti-inflammatory substance to disguise their feeding, allowing the potential for a host of disease-causing pathogens that may have infected the tick beforehand with a direct route into our bloodstream without us knowing about it. The most well-known is Lyme disease. Whilst not all ticks carry Lyme disease, it's not possible to distinguish those that do from those that don't. And whilst ticks are usually associated with woodland and moorland, as Julia Knight from Lyme Disease UK explains, increasingly that is not always the case.
Infected ticks have been found in urban parks and gardens. And a good example of this is the rugby player Matt Dawson was infected with Lyme disease in a London park when he was training. So don't just think countryside per se, if you know what I mean. Grassy areas, particularly if they're overgrown, shrubbery, that sort of thing. Be aware of ticks generally.
There's a whole range of steps we can take to avoid being impregnated by a tick, such as keeping to footpaths, avoiding long grass, wearing long-sleeve shirts and trousers tucked into your socks, wearing light-coloured fabrics that could help you spot a tick on your clothes. If you're involved in occupations that might see you more exposed to ticks, you can also buy clothing impregnated with tick repellent. And for those of us that don't, there are also insect repellent sprays and lotions we can apply. But I understand that above all those measures, detection is key.
Do a thorough tick check when you get home. If there are bits of you can't see and you've got a partner, check one another, because they do like to go in warm places that you can't always see. The other thing is pets can pick up ticks, so it's really important that you get advice from your vet about tick prevention for your pets.
And if you find a tick on you, what's the best way of getting it out of you?
There are two ways of removing it. One is with a tick removal tool that you can buy really cheaply, and it's like a little fork-like plastic thing that you slide under the tick, turn it slightly and pull upwards. The other method, a pair of fine tip tweezers, and then you grab the tick gently as close to the skin as possible and pull straight upwards.
If we have been impregnated by a tick, what might suggest the presence of Lyme disease?
The very specific rash takes at least 3 days to appear, but can take some weeks. Generally isn't itchy, hot or painful, and gradually spreads outwards. And it can have the appearance of a bullseye. The difficulty is that it doesn't always show typically, so it can be a solid rash. It can be like a bruise-like appearance, and it appears different on dark skins. About 30% of people with Lyme disease do not produce a rash. So the other symptoms to look out for are flu-like symptoms, headache, stiff neck, sore joints and muscles, swollen glands in some people, generally feeling very unwell. Some people develop a facial palsy. It should be treated with antibiotics. It really does need to be diagnosed and treated fairly quickly. And when diagnosis is delayed, that's when people can go on to have longer term symptoms.
What might those longer term symptoms be?
It can affect the joints, so people get a long-term arthritic type disease, painful joints and muscles that overlaps with fibromyalgia, and it can affect the heart or it can affect the nervous systems. People can become very debilitated. Fatigue is a big one, and that's where you get the overlap with ME. You can see how the picture becomes complex. There's quite a lack of awareness amongst the public and some frontline health professionals about Lyme disease. So it can be difficult to diagnose, but what we're looking for is to prevent the bite in the first place, and for people to be aware of what to look for if they start these symptoms and get medical help quickly, get the antibiotics, then you have the best possible chance that you won't have any long-term symptoms at all.
My grateful thanks to Julia Knight. To find out more and connect through to Lyme Disease UK for help and support, log onto our website, wordonhealth.com. That's wordonhealth.com.
Word on Health, for your very best of health.
Liver disease is the only cause of premature death that statistics show is on the increase. It affects around 20% of the population. In the UK, there are more than 10,000 deaths due to liver disease each year. That's more than 27 deaths a day. And there's been a fourfold increase in death rates over the past 50 years. Pam Healey is CEO of the British Liver Trust.
90% of liver disease is caused by alcohol, diet or viral hepatitis, and therefore is preventable. 1 million adults in the UK may have the early stages of liver disease but are completely unaware and have no symptoms.
Pam, is there any indicator, telltale sign or thing that we can do to find out about the state of our liver health?
What you really need is to have GP intervention to screen your liver. Now, obviously that's quite difficult at the moment. So I would say go to our British Liver Trust screener on our website and be honest with yourself.
What steps do you recommend we take to improve our liver health?
If one leads a healthy diet, if one reduces one's alcohol consumption, then you can really decrease your chances of having liver disease.
For those of us who do consume alcohol, reducing the amount we drink is one thing, but I understand it's also important to have intervals between drinking sessions.
Give your liver 3 consecutive days a week with no alcohol, because that gives your liver an opportunity to take a break, recharge itself, And if you did that every week of the 11 months of the year and 1 month not have alcohol at all, you would be doing your liver a huge good turn.
My grateful thanks to Pam Healey. To find out more and to access the liver health screening tool on the British Liver Trust website, log on to ours, wordonhealth.com. That's wordonhealth.com.
Keeping you in touch with the health and lifestyle issues that matter. This is Word on Health with Paul Pennington.